I got a couple ground rules that I'm going to ask you to follow tonight. Number one is if you have your cell phone with you, please shut it off or silence it so I don't get distracted. And number two is if you have questions, if you would please just write those questions down. I got a lot of information I want to get through with you tonight, and I will leave you time at the end that we can ask those questions, but if we ask them during, you're going to get me sidetracked and we're going to be here all night. So I ask those two things of you. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, my name is Brady Wyrick. Yes, I am a chiropractor. Yes, I like to move bones, but moving bones is not going to fix your thyroid. Hey, I practice functional medicine and functional neurology right here. We have patients come to us from all over the place to get help. Okay? Now we'll talk a little bit more about what that means tonight, but here's the gist of it. If I want to build a bigger bicep, how do I do it?
Exercise.
You exercise it. Okay? So if I exercise and eat nothing but McDonald's, do my biceps get bigger? No, they do not. If I exercise it and eat whole food, do my biceps get bigger? Problem child. Yes, they will get bigger. Now, your nerves and your metabolic processes, such as thyroid metabolism, work on that same principle. I'm here to share with you as much information as I can to help you understand what's going on and show you what you can do to do something about it. Nice shoes, Lynn. Did you park your bike back there?
No, it's right in front.
Do you go put it back in my office, please, so it doesn't grow legs? Okay.
It's fast, but not that.
So, what I want to share with you tonight, like I said, is insight into what's going on, specific action steps that you can take. But the reality is this: I'm here because what I hope happens is I strike a chord with you, and what I say makes sense to you, and you actually make an appointment with me so I can see if I can help you. Hey, that's the purpose of me being here. Is that fair enough to say? Hey, now, let's talk a little bit about what's written up here on the board. Last night, or Monday night, what is today? I forget. Monday night, we were here teaching a class on healthy salad dressings. So I had my staff go through and make a list of the conditions that we have helped people with. This is what they came up with. When I walked out and saw this list, I was a little bit taken back because there's a lot of stuff on there. But what it comes down to, these are inflammatory conditions. These are autoimmune conditions. This is your immune system turned against you, and what is the first thing on that list? Your thyroid. What I hope you get out of tonight is that you're actually not here for your thyroid, you're here for your immune system. So those people who have their thyroid completely removed, your immune system still has issues. It's still finding the next tissue to attack. We're going to go through that. Okay? Now, this picture up here on the wall, I don't really even need because Kayleen decided to come tonight. Okay? How long have you been with me now?
Protect yourself.
She's going to protect herself. Nice.
Should have worn something different.
Yeah, me too.
This is my 5th week.
So Kayleen came to a seminar just like this one and took to heart what I said. Now she's 5 weeks in, energy's improved, and how much weight have you lost?
I weighed 480, but as of last week, 4 weeks, I was 13 pounds.
So 13 pounds in 4 weeks. It's working for her. She'll attest to that tonight, but I was going to throw that picture up there anyway. But here you are. Okay? Nick, would you mind hitting the next slide, please? Now, I put this picture up here not because it has anything to do with my thyroid. Okay? But this is me back in 2009 as I finished up chemotherapy. Okay? I had testicular cancer. Everything's fine now. I've had 2 kids since then, so please don't worry about me. Okay? I put this up there because I want you to understand that I am not anti-medicine. Medicine has its place. It saves people's lives every day. It saved my life. They're very, very good at treating things like heart attacks, cancer, stroke, gunshot wounds, etc. But when it comes to the chronic conditions, I think we're missing a lot of stuff. And I hope to fill in some of those gaps for you tonight. Okay? Nick, I put that picture up there just because my daughter's cute. And I love that picture. So there it is. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about basic thyroid metabolism. Give me a second to wash this off.
Can I take a picture of that first?
Please do.
That's a good idea.
Thanks.
That's amazing stuff up there.
You should take a picture and then you can use it on your slides.
I have a picture.
Oh, never mind.
Hurry, it's starting to run.
My phone ain't gonna do it.
Okay.
Do you want me to, I can email the picture to you. I have one.
Yeah, will you remember?
Yeah, I'll throw it on the email with the video.
Great,
Okay?
thank you so much.
My pleasure. It's on Facebook. I put it on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So tell me, as I'm erasing this, what are some of the most frustrating things for you? What are the symptoms that frustrate you the most? I'll say the first one so nobody has to. Weight loss. Okay? What else is frustrating? Fatigue.
Hair loss.
Hair loss.
Memory problems.
Memory problems.
High pulse rate.
Pulse rate.
No blood pressure.
High blood pressure.
No blood pressure.
No blood pressure. My arm's getting tired, just so you know.
Irregular heartbeat.
Irregular heartbeat. I hope to give you answers to all of these tonight. I knew this would take me 10 minutes to do this, but I thought it was worth it. Okay. So weight loss, fatigue, hair loss. Did anybody see the hair loss video I did a few minutes ago? Okay, someone you did? Okay. Irregular heartbeat. What else did we say?
High blood pressure. Cold.
Blood pressure. Cold. And I'm not even going to try to regulate the temperature tonight, just so you know.
Yeah.
Cold all the time. Anything else?
Memory loss.
Memory. Okay, we're going to do our best to touch on each one of those as we go tonight.
I
Okay?
have one.
But,
When I had my blood level, all my tests done, you know, the HDL, your good cholesterol bad and
Right.
all that, are a lot, they're high, you know.
okay,
So I don't know what you call that,
I call it BS.
which is,
Really?
I thought you
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. We will touch on the cholesterol thing tonight, all right? But there's a great book called The Great Cholesterol Myth.
Yeah.
Cholesterol is a problem because they can sell you drugs for it. The research is out there. I'm not telling anything new. Okay, but that's why I was a little bit of a smart aleck and I did that. Plus, I've had a long day and I'm feeling a little punchy. So, you know.
Fine.
Not better. Infections.
Okay, infections. Someone said not being able to eat.
No, I said you better eat.
Oh, I better eat.
Then you won't be so
It'd
punchy.
be you to bust on me. All right. Before we get into this, let's talk about just basic thyroid metabolism. Okay? And it starts up in your brain. Up in your brain, there's a little stalk that hangs down called your pituitary gland. Above that is a part of your brain called your hypothalamus. So what I want everybody to do is to take your finger and put it right here on the bridge of your nose. Camera's facing this way, not that way, just so you know. Okay? Right there behind your finger on the bridge of your nose is that stalk that's hanging down called your pituitary gland. These two things work in concert with each other to sense chemicals and hormones and to regulate your hormones. Okay, so as thyroid hormones start to drop off, it's sensed by the hypothalamus. Okay, your hypothalamus then fires a signal down to your pituitary gland through a hormone called thyroid releasing hormone. And your pituitary gland spits out this thing called thyroid stimulating hormone, which I know every single one of you in this room has heard of before. Okay, so TSH is the message that actually gets to the thyroid. That's a really bad looking thyroid, but whatever. Okay? Once that message is received, your thyroid then spits out T4 and T3. Someone has been studying up on this because I can hear him saying it. Okay? Now, 90 in a lifetime of it, 93% of what comes out of your thyroid is T4. And only 7% of it is T3. Which means that the 93% of this stuff has to be converted into T3 before your body can use it. Okay? This conversion is going to happen in your liver, in your gut, and in your peripheral tissues at the cell. Right? So when you go to the medical doctor with all of these symptoms, what happens?
They tell you it's your thyroid.
They tell you it's your thyroid. Then they do the blood test, and they come back and says your blood test is high. Here's more medication. You'll be fine. Sound familiar? Every single one of you is going like this. So you go on the medication, and then you're sent away for several months. And what happens to your symptoms?
They come back.
They feel okay for a while, then they start to come back. Then you go in and you repeat the process. You measure the hormone, adjust the medications, come back in 3 months, you're getting older, learn to live with it, nothing else can be done, this medication is for the rest of your life. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? In the meantime, you start getting things like anxiety and depression. Nobody said that up here, so we're going to put that in. So they give you more medication for that. Your blood sugar starts to go up, so they start giving you medication for diabetes. Your cholesterol goes up, you start getting cholesterol medication. Your blood pressure goes up. Hey, you guys know what I'm talking about because you're there. What they're doing is they're trying to manage this part of the box right here. If we try to stay within that box, this is what we call glandular hypothyroidism. And I am here to tell you this is as good as it gets for these people. Unfortunately, this is the model that your insurance company is locked into. This is the gold standard. This is where your medical doctor will take this, and it will never get any better unless you do something different. Okay? The definition of insanity, do you know what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Okay? Please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what I see. And this hasn't changed since the 1960s. So what we want to get into tonight is everything that happens outside of this box, which is what we call cellular hypothyroidism. Because here is where we are going to make, that says hypothyroidism, I promise. Hey, here is where we are going to make the biggest difference. Okay? So let's get into that, those bubbles that I had you fill out. What I want you to do is go to your piece of note paper. And I want you to draw a big circle, just like this, and write thyroid right in the middle of it. Go like in school. And when you're done, look up. Okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to look at category 1 on this sheet. Under category 1, I want you to write colon. If you have taken category 1 and you've marked 2 or 3s, there's a high probability that there's an issue with your colon. Okay, so what I do with this is I'm just going to go ahead and write in here. Well, first off, I'm going to draw a little circle off like this and write in brain, because we've already talked about this stuff here. But then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do another circle where I'm just going to write colon. And below colon, I'm going to put A, K, E, and D. Your colon is full of microbes. Those microbes are keeping you alive. Those microbes get killed off every time you take an antibiotic. And you have to go rebuild them. You have a constant battle between good and evil happening in your colon of good gut bugs and bad gut bugs. Most of the time, in most cases that I see, the bad gut bugs are winning. So what happens is your good bugs, they will eat toxins and poop nutrients for your body to absorb and for you to use for vitality. Bad gut bugs, these guys eat nutrients and poop toxins, disrupting your body's ability to absorb vitamins A, K, E, and D. What that means is we don't have the proper vitamins to produce new nerves and to grow healthy nerves. That's going to affect your brain, which affects this area, which affects your thyroid function. All right, now we're going to bump down to category We're going to go down to category number 4. Okay. Under category 4 and 5, if you have things that you've marked in there, you have issues with stomach acid. Healthy stomach acid is required to convert vitamin B12 into a usable form called methylmalonic acid. When you don't convert B12, you don't grow healthy nerves. And when you don't grow healthy nerves, what's that going to affect? Thyroid function. Not to mention, when you don't have enough stomach acid, when you don't have enough vitamin B12, you can't produce healthy red blood cells. And when you're not producing healthy red blood cells, you don't carry oxygen. And you end up with a type of anemia that means that your cells are not getting oxygen. And if your cells aren't getting oxygen, what's that going to do to your energy? Makes it so it doesn't function, it drops it. See, we're only like 20 minutes into this, and we're already way outside of this box. Am I making sense? Am I speaking English? Okay, good. As long as it's not French, right? All right. So if you look at category number 4, this is where we get into the small intestine. Now, your small intestine is there for absorbing basically proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. The most common, there's two of the most common things we see with the small intestine is something called leaky gut syndrome. Anybody heard of that? Mm-hmm. Okay, write it down if you haven't, go look it up. All right? And something we call small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. That is when the bugs that are supposed to be in the colon leak up and get into the small intestine. Here is where we talk about food sensitivities. If your small intestine that's supposed to be filtering your blood is not doing its job, that filter is broken, that increases inflammation, that causes your immune system to turn against you and attack your thyroid. The three most common foods that are going to do this are number 1, gluten, the protein that's found in wheat. Number 2 is soy, and number 3 is dairy. Hypothyroidism, or Hashimoto's disease, is carried on the same gene as gluten sensitivity. So you've got a thyroid problem that needs to be eradicated from your diet, period. Okay, I could stand up here and go on for hours about this particular subject, but the reality is it's not the same stuff it was in the 1800s, and we're spraying a whole bunch of junk on it now that we weren't back then. And that junk is getting to us. Soy has been so genetically modified that you can spray it directly with Roundup and the soy does not die. But the weeds do. You can't wash that stuff off. You ingest it, it gets into your gut, and it kills all the gut bugs that are supposed to be here. Roundup was made by a company called Monsanto, who also brought us Agent Orange, who said that Agent Orange was perfectly safe. Hey Nick, will you unplug my computer, please?
And DDT.
You know where I'm going with that. Just for the Nick, just up at the desk, it's beeping the TV. Thanks. So, when leaky gut is happening, you're spilling inflammation into your bloodstream, activating your immune system, and the immune system is going to attack whatever it feels like. And unfortunately for you guys, it's your thyroid, to the point where you start growing stuff on it, and the medical doctor wants to go in and just cut it out. So they go in and cut it out. Where does that leave your immune system?
On its own.
On its own, to go find something else to attack. Which, by the way, you never can cut out the entire thyroid gland. There's still chunks of it left over. It's like trying to take gum off the bottom of a shoe. Enough for your immune system to still attack. So I get emails and questions all the time. Well, what do you do if you don't have a thyroid? Well, you still got to address the immune system. Okay? Now, moving on, let's talk about category, I can't do Roman numerals, is that 7? Yes, 7. 7 is your gallbladder. Does anyone here no longer have a gallbladder? Did anyone tell you when they took your gallbladder out that you need to take enzymes so you can still absorb fat?
No.
No, of course they didn't. Okay? Here's the thing. Healthy stomach acid levels are needed to stimulate your gallbladder to secrete bile. So if you don't have healthy stomach acid, bile is not coming out. And anytime you have fluid sitting in the body that's not moving, what do you think happens to it? It starts to solidify. Forms these painful stones. Then the medical community's got to go in and cut it out. So I'm glad they do, because it is a life-saving procedure. Hey, but the reality is, if you don't have one, or if it's not functioning properly, you don't absorb those fats. And guess what your brain is made out of? Made out of fat. And if we don't have those proper fat molecules, what's that going to affect? The brain, which eventually affects what? Your thyroid. But I'm not here to tell you to take your drugs or not take your drugs. I can't do that. It's against my scope of practice. But I'm trying to open your eyes to, there's a whole lot more to this than just, here, take your levothyroxine, you'll be fine. You can't laugh, it's against the rules. Okay, now moving on. Categories 9 and 10 is all about blood sugar. 9 is for blood sugar that's too low. 10 is for blood sugar that's too high. If you have both areas that are marked, you're going through something we call dysglycemia, which basically means abnormal blood sugar. That means your blood sugar is going from the bottom of the barrel extremely high, back and forth like this. And every time you take that blood sugar and bounce it back and forth like this, what do you think that does to your brain cells?
Gets you confused.
It kills brain cells. Okay? This issue makes it so it actually goofs this part of your brain up so you don't control your thyroid hormones as much as you could in the past. So the key to this is focus on your proteins, stick to a paleo type diet, okay, that's P-A-L-E-O, and eat often to keep your blood sugar more stable. Because every time you peak and every time you valley, you disrupt hormones production and you disrupt brain function, which is going to do what to your thyroid? Slows it down. Okay? All right, so let's flip over the page. 11 and 12, we get into one of my favorites, which is adrenal function. You've got these glands that sit on top of your kidneys that are about the size of walnuts. These glands respond to stress by secreting cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. Okay, so you think about me standing up here right now. I'm moving around, I'm yelling at you. Okay? My body's under a little bit of stress right now. So as a result of that, what does my heart rate look like compared to yours?
Elevated.
It's elevated. What's my respiration rate like?
Elevated.
Elevated. Hey, am I sweating more than you? Yes. All of this is as a result of cortisol. Cortisol is a good thing. You have to have it. But the problem is if you're constantly stressing out your system by all this other stuff, and you're stressing it for years and years and years, what happens?
Adrenal burnout.
Adrenal burnout. Clinically, guess what adrenal burnout looks like? The same as all this stuff up there. Okay? The thing about adrenal burnout is when you have abnormal amounts of cortisol, it's toxic to the human brain, specifically the hippocampus, which is where short-term memory is stored, which means you're walking into rooms and forgetting why you're there. Picking up the phone, forgetting who you're calling. Yeah, I always get giggles when we do this, which, yeah, I mean, I am kind of trying to be funny, but at the same time, it's not funny. That means brain pathways are dying. And it looks just like thyroid problems. Okay? Elevated cortisol levels will also block conversion of T4 into T3 at the peripheral tissue. So when you block that conversion, you can induce hypothyroidism, and it really has nothing to do with your thyroid. It just looks like your thyroid. But don't worry, your TSH is fine. We'll just keep your medications where they are for you. Right? I'm glad somebody knows I'm being sarcastic. Okay, moving on to the next one that we'll talk about.
Sorry, remind me, what was that last one that we will?
Oh, you're right, I missed two. There's epinephrine and norepinephrine. These are pain hormones. Hormones that cause you pain. Pain tells you that something is wrong. However, when we have abnormal amounts of these hormones, you can walk up to somebody and barely touch them on the shoulder. Really? You barely touch them on the shoulder and they do exactly what Kayleen just did. They pull away from it because it hurts. It causes parts of your body to hurt when there's no excuse for those parts to hurt. Okay? From poor adrenal function. Are you starting to see that this isn't just a thyroid issue? It's a whole body. How does this all fit in together? Making sense to you? Good. All right. So we're going to jump over to the last category over there, which have to do with male and female hormones. Abnormal hormone levels, whether too little, too much of testosterone or estrogen, can block the receptor sites for T3. So when you go to these hormone doctors and these endocrine specialists and they measure your hormones and say, okay, you've got low testosterone, what do? They give you shots or creams or whatever to bring that hormone level up. Same thing with estrogen, same thing with progesterone. Right, here's the problem. Abnormal amounts of these are going to block the receptor sites. I think I already said that. But when you come in and you start introducing exogenous hormones or hormones that weren't made by your body, these chemical receptors up here are going to make your brain think that, hey, I'm making plenty of testosterone. I can shut my natural production down. So you start getting into these vicious cycles. Okay? Now, the other thing that we see happening is your body will actually shift production away from the sex hormones towards adrenal function because your body knows it cannot live without cortisol, but it can live without sex. So we see libidos dropping into the ground. The other issue that we run into is these are the types of people that usually have blood sugar issues. If you have this blood sugar issue that we talked about before, for women, you're going to take estrogen and turn it into testosterone. For men, we take testosterone and turn it into estrogen. So it makes women more manly and men more womanly. Is that how you would say that?
Feminine.
Feminine, thank you. I quit. I'm going home. So it comes back to, what do we do about it? Medication is not going to fix this. I think you guys understand that by now. Right?
We come to you and then you fix.
I'm not even going to touch that one, Kelly.
Well, no, not that way.
Here's number one thing we do is fix the diet. Okay? I gave you the top 3 foods. I told you that there's an awful lot of information out there on the internet about paleo diets. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. But what we do here in the office is this. Okay? We start testing. We want to know specifically what foods you're sensitive to. I'm already going to assume it's a gluten problem because you're here with a thyroid issue. Okay? Well, what about soy? What about dairy? What about rice? What about all these other foods? We want to know what they are so that when you're done with us, we know what foods you have to avoid. Okay? And don't worry, I steer away from the ones that are like 200 foods long. I'll get into that later. But we want to know what the main ones are. Then what we do is we get into a detox program that we have, and I've posted the book on Facebook several times. I'll send it to you again tomorrow. But we've got a book of menus, recipes, and shopping lists for you to follow. Follow those recipes. Okay? From there, we get into the specifics of what your blood work will actually tell us. Now here's the difference. Okay? When you go to the doctor and you measure TSH, they're going to take a number of like 0.05 to 5. If you fall into that range, you're fine.
I've taken it since I was 12.
Probably longer than I've been alive.
Probably.
I'm sorry, that was mean.
That's all right.
Okay, so you look at this big laboratory range and it's huge. What we want to do is look at it more in the functional range, which is more 1.5 to 3.0. Because if you're falling here or here, there's an issue. But the medical community is not going to pick it up. And even if they did pick it up, what are they going to do about it? Give you more meds. Medication. Right?
Which, by the way, only makes things worse.
I didn't say that.
I did.
I know you did, and I
I have
agree
no
with you.
problem with that.
I'm trying to be somewhat politically correct. I'm almost done, then we're going to get into specific questions, okay? I lost my train of thought. We're going to look at all of your blood work in these functional ranges. We want to figure out what the issue is. This is a blanket statement here, number 1 and number 2. I'll give you that information. But if we want to make this specific for you, we want to get into what exactly is the problem. You know, perfect example was a patient that came in the other day. Her thyroid issue had gotten to the point where she's developing neuropathy because of it. I took one look at her blood work and looked at all her red blood cells. They were big and fat. She had a lot of them. They were out of functional range, but they weren't out of regular range. That was pretty easy to fix. It was a stomach acid issue and a vitamin B12 issue. And she's happy as can be. It might be that simple. Okay. Now, if what I have said makes sense to you tonight, when I'm done, Nick has appointments ready for you. We can sit down together. You've already done about half of the paperwork. He's going to give you a little bit more. Okay? So if what I've said makes sense, make an appointment. Let's sit down. Let's figure out where we need to go. Okay? If you make that appointment tonight and pay for that appointment tonight, that appointment is going to cost you $65. We will sit down together. We will go through your history. If I can help you, we will tell you at that point. If I can't, I'm going to tell you that too, just so we don't waste time, we don't waste money. Is that fair? Okay. Beyond that, if we look at this and figure out that we can help you, I will be straightforward with you about everything that it's going to take, including time, money, procedures, etc. As I said earlier, insurance thinks what we do is crazy and outside of their box, so they don't pay for it. But you will not leave this office not knowing exactly what to expect. Okay, if you ask the question tonight, how much does it cost? I don't know that because I don't know what needs to be tested here. I won't know that till we sit down together and say, okay, you need this, this, and this. Here's where we go from here. Fair? Okay, with that, I'm going to shut off the camera. We'll open the floor to questions. And once the camera's off, I start to be a little more wild. So just heads up.